So in the early 1990s, there was a band called Nirvana, and they put out a record, and some people listened to it, and a lot of people liked it. A lot of people, a whole lot of people liked this album and this band, myself included. I was a very, very young whippersnapper. I was probably 5 or 6 years old when this album came out, and my dad was a fan of this album, and I know he had the tape. I grew up listening to some cool shit: Maiden, Sabbath, Priest, Megadeth, Metallica. My dad's a hard rock guy, so I listened to a lot of that stuff in the house. But this was just something different. You know what the fuck this album is. So why am I talking about it? What is there really to say about this album that hasn't been said? Well, here's the thing. I loved this band when I was 5 or 6 years old. In 1994, when Kurt Cobain passed away, I was like 8 or 9 years old, so they're not putting out music anymore, and things kind of disappear, and you learn about different things, and by the time you're 13, 14 years old, it's like, well, you don't necessarily want to listen to the same shit that you were listening to when you were fucking 5 or 6. Like when I was 14 years old, I was listening to fucking Slipknot and Cradle of Filth and, all of that bullshit. I was like, I don't want to fucking hear Nirvana. Like, I'd see a Kurt Cobain t-shirt while, derping around the mall inside Spencer's Gifts or something and be like, oh, fuck Nirvana. I was one of those kids. I didn't get it. As a teenager, my tastes in music really just geared towards trying to find, like, what is the next craziest, most extreme thing that I can find. And then, that resets over time, especially turning 16, 17, getting into making music, making beats, getting into songwriting, and just that really opened up my palette to different things and kind of became a reset button. And then I started to revisit a lot of things from my past and realizing, like, fuck, like these are really, really good songs. And that was something that happened with this album. From start to finish, I feel as though almost every single song on this record is a hit. And that is fucking crazy if you really think about it. For like an alternative rock band in the early 90s, the one hit wonder was the common thing. There are countless bands of that genre of that time that had like really good singles. But in terms of like a full album of material, not so much. However, there's a reason why this album was as big as it was. I think that it's really easy to, poo-poo on bands that get really popular, but I think that you're doing yourself a disservice, especially if you are like a songwriter, to not at least acknowledge what is working with this band that makes it resonate, Simplicity and learning how to embrace simplicity as a songwriter and learning how to open up a dialogue, starting a conversation with millions of people and finding a way to resonate with those people through your art. Like, there's some, I don't know, I don't believe in fucking magic or spirituality or any of that shit, but there's something there. This album is 30 years old now at this point. 3 decades later, it is still, like, timeless as far as I'm concerned. I listened to this a couple weeks ago in the car, and I was just, like, floored. I think that the production is great. The songwriting is great. It holds up. There are still bands today that are trying to put out albums like this, but they're just totally missing the fucking mark because they just don't have it. And, regardless of whatever the fuck you think about Nirvana or Kurt Cobain, they fucking had it. This album is lightning in a fucking bottle, and it's why it still fucking holds up. It's just that fucking good. I think there are actually some people of like a younger demographic that are, picking back up on aspects of the grunge culture and Nirvana. You see people wearing t-shirts, and granted, it's like anybody can buy a fucking Nirvana shirt from like H&M or Walmart or wherever the fuck you buy Nirvana t-shirts. But I don't think very many people are going to buy a Nirvana shirt just to buy a shirt. I think that, even if you see somebody wearing a shirt that it seems like they shouldn't be wearing that shirt, it's like you're forgetting that this is a band whose music really transcended a lot of like genres and cultures and resonated with like millions of fucking people over the past 30 years. So you really shouldn't be surprised to see anybody in a fucking Nirvana t-shirt. They wrote great fucking songs, and this is a great fucking album. And that's all the fuck I'm gonna say about that. So, until next time, my friends, take care of yourselves, take care of the people around you. Peace.